Yeah, good morning all and a warm welcome to this Clean Futures Business Support webinar. My name's Brian Stevens I'm from Coventry University. I'm a business advisor there and I manage the Catalyst part of the Clean Futures programme, which is hosting this event today. Before we start this webinar, just a couple of bits of housekeeping to go through. We are recording the masterclass so that we can make it available later. So if you don't want to be recorded, please keep your camera off. All microphones, apart from the speakers, are turned off also. So if you need to ask any questions, can you please use the Q&A or chat facility in Zoom, and we'll endeavour to answer questions during the webinar, or if we run out of time, we'll reply afterwards. And we will share all the presentation material with you afterwards. So the purpose of the webinar today is to give an overview of the support available from the Clean Futures programme, and also an overview of other support and funding available from Innovate UK programmes. I appreciate that some of you have put considerable effort into applying for the Clean Futures Accelerator programme. We cannot give any feedback today regarding your applications or interviews, but hopefully some of the information we provide today will be of use to you to obtain further funding or support. So the agenda for today, I'm going to first give a short overview of the Clean Futures programme, which is delivering the webinar today. Howard Need will then give an overview of support from the Innovate UK Business Growth Programme, formerly Innovate Edge. Rachel Cheatham's then going to give an overview of funding support available from Innovate UK programmes. Alec Gilliam from BCIMO, Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organisation, is then going to give a short overview of some of the support that they can offer. And finally, there'll be a chance to answer some of your questions. So, okay, so first, a little background into the Clean Futures programme and the Catalyst. So the Clean Futures programme is one of 5 innovation accelerators in the West Midlands, set up to accelerate innovation in health tech, clean tech, and digital technologies. And the Clean Futures programme is focused on supporting SMEs in the West Midlands to adopt and develop clean, sustainable technologies within the transport sector and related supply chains. And this is done through a partnership between the Connected Places Catapult, ourselves, Coventry University, and the Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organisation. So we've got 2 parts to the programme. There's the accelerator part, which is focused on supporting 40 SMEs with accelerating to market transport-related products or services. And then we've got the Catalyst, which is providing broader support around supporting a business's journey to sustainability by providing essential knowledge, guidance, insight into skills and technologies required on a business's journey to sustainability. And we're doing this through a program of networking events, webinars, workshops, best practice events that demonstrate some of the key technologies and processes required for sustainable businesses. So, for example, over the next few months, we're going to be running some workshops around carbon footprinting and developing carbon reduction plans, where we're going to provide practical support to businesses, supporting them with developing a top-level view of their scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, and advising on measures they can take to reduce those emissions and develop a carbon reduction plan. And we're also planning to run further masterclasses around some of the key legislation that affects businesses around sustainability, such as the UK CBAM that's coming in and how that's going to impact on businesses in the UK. So if you need further information on the support and the events that we're running, you can access our website using the QR code there and register for information, and we'll update you on what we're running. So now I'd like to hand you over to Howard, who's going to give you an overview of the support available from the business growth. So I will stop sharing, and I think I need, if I hand. So yeah, so Howard, you should be able to share.
Good morning, everyone. Uh, is that screen visible?
Looks good.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Morning, everyone. I'm going to take you through the overall service provided by Innovate UK Business Growth. Excuse me, glancing to my left from time to time. It's a complex area, and I want to make sure I cover everything that I need to in my notes. So Innovate UK Business Growth is part of Innovate UK, part of UKRI, which Brian has outlined. There are over 400 people like me, innovation and growth specialists, plus 34 scale-up directors, and we connect with around 10,000 businesses every year. And you can see on the screen there, our mission is to help businesses like yours grow through the development and commercialization of your innovative products, and to help you navigate the ecosystem, which I'm going to cover a little bit today. So, as I've said, business growth is a wraparound offer. It's not a one-off intervention. It's working with an IGS to provide bespoke support to empower innovation-driven businesses to grow at pace and achieve your transformative ambitions. It's delivered through a number of initiatives, but they all sit within one of three pillars. One is innovation management. The other is opening new markets through internationalization. And the third is sourcing funding and finance through investment, helping you to become investment ready. There's some examples here of the initiatives that sit within each one. I'm going to go through some of them in detail. The important thing to know is that as Innovate UK Business Growth, we have strong relationships with all of the ecosystem organisation, Catapults, British Standards Institute, Intellectual Property Office, Business Connect, the investor community, and universities. And we will do a needs analysis of your business to help work out which of these services and supports that you need. I'm going to dig into 2 or 3 of these now in slightly more detail. First up is IP Advance, which has just been relaunched. Imagine that as an innovative business, you've created your innovative product or service. What you need to do is work out exactly how you're going to protect that to ensure that it does remain unique. And there are 2 elements to this. One is an IP audit program where a qualified IP professional will conduct an audit of the landscape, and particularly your position within it and the areas that you might need to explore. And we make a significant contribution towards the cost of that. Then there's IP Access. IP Access is more about developing an IP strategy, again, working with an IP professional. The important thing about IP is it's not just about protecting, it's about commercializing your business in the future as well. And you can apply for one or both of these. One doesn't rely on the other. Then in terms of investment readiness, we'll conduct an audit of your business. We'll help you make sense of the very, very many funding and finance opportunities that are available. We'll advise you on the best options from a regional, national and international source perspective. This could be R&D around testing your innovation ideas. It could be around support and guidance to improve your pitching performance. We run a program called Investability, which is designed specifically to get you in a place where you can present to potential investors, and really about the investment required to help you achieve your scaling ambition. And in terms of opening new markets through internationalization, there are a number of elements to this. We now have access as a partner to Enterprise Europe Network. That's the largest support network for small and medium-sized businesses in the world. 65 countries are part of it. and it enables you to either seek partners who are in a similar area or part of a supply chain that you'll be part of, or for you to post on there the innovation that you're working on and let partners come to you for collaboration. On the far side, we have Global Explorers, which is a popular program. Global Explorers is where you identify a specific need. You need to travel to a specific market to meet very specific clients or attend an event, and you can apply for up to 70% funding for that program. The two in the middle, I'll go into a little bit more detail. The Global Business Innovation Program and the Global Incubator Program. And this is really about getting you to that first stage of collaborating and getting to know people in new markets. Every country in the world has different rules and regulations about how to do business, and this is really about helping you understand that landscape. GBIPs are curated visits to key markets to help you make those initial contacts and build initial relationships. So I'm actually, as an IGS, part of a team that's leading 14 clients in the telecom sector to a trip to Mobile World Congress in the US in October, and we are facilitating their ability to understand the US landscape, to make connections with the relevant companies based in the US, and to help them navigate what is a very large event. The Global Incubator Program is a slightly deeper program, runs over a longer period of time, smaller group of businesses, and often involves 2 or 3 trips to a market, and that's based around a specific theme. As you can see there, it could be agri-tech, could be marine robotics, could be anything, but that's a more intensive program. And lastly, scale up. So this is the point where an SME is recognized and acknowledged as having the potential to grow to become a large or indeed giant business. This is a separate team of skilled directors. They provide one-to-one bespoke support, and they will focus specifically on your scale-up ambitions. They will bring together colleagues from a wide range of backgrounds and create an advisory board for you to focus on the types of activities you need to achieve scale up. They've worked to date with about 140 companies and have raised around £450 million of investment for those companies. Included in the docs, which I assume will be shared afterwards, there's a couple of useful links for you. The Innovation Hub gives you a very broad overview of the sort of things we're talking today. It's a good resource. The Innovation Funding Service does what it says on the tin. It allows you to search on the government website for all funding opportunities. You can access more information about business growth on our website, or indeed there is a direct contact link here, or if you prefer it and like to be a bit old school, there's even the telephone number, and you'll get through to our national team, who will then connect you to a team closer to the area, to the region in which you're based. So I am now going to hand over to Rachel, so I need to make Rachel the host, yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, that should have happened.
Okay, thank you very much, Howard. Let me now just share my screen. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to look in a little bit more detail into Innovate UK funding itself and try and demystify a little bit what that looks like. When it comes to funding innovation, one of the things to bear in mind is this is actually part of a jigsaw puzzle. There is no one solution to funding innovation. It could be done in multiple ways. And as we go through this, you'll see that we talk about funding innovation as more as a pathway and a journey, not trying to fund the whole thing at one point. with one solution. So what Innovate UK have done is very much look at that journey, and there are different types of funding or different sizes of funding, depending what point in your path on that journey you're on. So it's not just about grants with Innovate UK. I will come on to grants in a few moments, but let's just quickly have a look at some of the other vehicles they use. So we have three here, which are investor partnerships, innovation loans, and procurement of innovation. And I'll just go into a little bit more detail about these. So investor partnerships look at 4 key areas and have regular calls focusing on one or more of these areas. So we're looking at net zero, which is obviously relevant to the work that the SMEs here are doing. Health and well-being, next generation digital technologies. Again, there may be crossover there with net zero, and ditto on technology families. So they're not standalone. It's often worth having a look at things, some of these calls that you think are not directly applicable, because there may be elements in there that apply to what you're trying to achieve. Investor partnerships combine grant funding for your R&D projects with aligned private investment. There is a list of investors on the Innovate UK website, and you have to secure a promise of investment prior to applying for a grant, and the grants themselves are competitive. So it is very much about getting both pieces aligned in order to make the most of this particular vehicle. The percentage of grant to equity investment varies depending on what stage of innovation you're at. And I've put the link in here, and provided the slides to the Clean Futures team to circulate afterwards, so that you can find out more information there. It's quite a complex vehicle, so worth taking some time to read through. Innovation loans. These are for SMEs who are are much closer to commercialisation, but are maybe struggling to get private sector funding. So it's at that crucial tipping point where you could go to market. There is perhaps some further development needed to get you there, and further investment needed, but you're unable to get debt finance out in the private sector. Again, the link is on here so that you can find out more about those. And the last vehicle here is contracts for innovation. Some of you may have been familiar with SBRI, which is a small business research initiative. This is where public sector organisations identify challenges that they have, and they come out to the market looking for potential solutions. These competitions are open to any size of business, higher education, research organisations, not-for-profits and charities, and they will often take a number of potential solutions and fund those to development to identify which will be most suited to their needs. So this is a great way if you're looking to get into the public sector. So it's they're always looking for new ideas and technologies, and the bonus on this is the IP remains with you as the SME rather than with the private sector, so it allows you then to go on and further exploit the value in that in the private sector as well. So again, there's a link in the slides to that particular vehicle. So grants, which is probably the one most people are interested in. Innovate UK grants really split down into sort of 4 themes. First is sectorial or thematic, and Innovate UK are focused on what they call 3 key domains, but they have 3 areas of focus, and all their funding fits into one of these 3 focuses. So first is healthy living and agriculture. Second is net zero, and third is digital and technologies. Again, what you're developing may actually spread across all of those areas. So it's always worth paying attention to what calls are coming out in all of those areas to see whether or not there is some synergy. They are always challenge focused, so they will address a key technical, economic, or societal challenge. They also have collaborative calls, so collaborative R&D calls, where you can work with partners such as a higher education, or it could be potentially another SME, or it could be a large corporate. And these are very specific calls, so you'll see things coming out for what they term CR&D, that's collaborative research and development. And the last ones are the open calls. These tend to be, apart from Smart, tend to be slightly smaller pots of money. They can start from grants as low as £5,000 for very early stage innovation and businesses, and that's under the Unlocking Potential banner. And they then move up to much larger pots of money. So you may well be familiar with Smart grants and the likes of that. And those are open to any business with any innovation. They're not sector specific or thematic. But again, you will need to be addressing some form of technical, economic or societal challenge. You can find the funding calls through the Innovation Funding Service, and I'm going to try and get us into that. Excellent. So this is what you see when you go into...
That's
not coming up. Let me see. It's not going to do it, is it?
Yeah, you might need to stop sharing and reshare.
Yeah. So hold on, bear with me one moment. Let's see if that one's going to do it.
No.
Nope, still not going to do it. Hold on 1 second. We'll give it one more try. Right, that should do it. Okay, fabulous. The reason I want to go into this is because one of the main failures of applicants is not to read the application. And so I can highly recommend familiarising yourself with this particular portal and with all the information that is in the actual application itself. So they do basically give you everything they want to know. And whilst it's a lot of work, if you've taken the time to read and familiarise yourself with the application and how it's to be presented and the questions to be answered, it will make life a lot easier for you when you're completing the actual application. So if we look across here, we can see that they always provide a summary of what they're looking for and also the eligibility. They will then go in to more depth on eligibility. And this gives you all the dates that you will need to deliver the project within. It will give you the types of companies they're looking for. It will give you any criteria that is important for this particular call. Don't rely on them all being the same. They can change and they sometimes are updated. So it's worth keeping an eye on this portal if you're applying to make sure the eligibility has remained the same. Then there is the scope. This is what they're expecting the projects that apply for this to fulfill. So again, do a quick check is what are you planning and does it fit the scope of this particular call? If it falls outside, you will fall at the first hurdle and will not get to full assessment. Dates, obviously, those are really important. You can see here, the second date here is the online briefing event. I can highly recommend you watch those recordings. So just make yourself a cup of tea, focus and watch them. They can be quite long. And sometimes the best thing is to go and look at Q&As because that will probably answer any questions you might have as well. How to apply? This gives you all the information that you're going to need to actually write your application. So it will take you through all the different questions and it will also take you through the scored questions and tell you what the score and the number of words that you can use will be. So read this carefully. If you look here at the potential market, they are telling you what they want. So they are asking you to explain the size and current structure of specific markets. So look at that, make sure you've got that information and answer the question. I know it sounds simple, but we sometimes forget that we need to be really clear about what Innovate UK and the assessors are looking for. Then if we return to the top, there's lots of supporting information. This tells you what happens as part of the assessment process. It will tell you what happens post-assessment. There is also a helpline number for questions and things like that. And if you're struggling and you perhaps are dyslexic or have some issues with actually filling in the application, there is the possibility of getting further support through that helpline. So please do pick the phone up to them. Okay, let me just go back now to my presentation. Okay. The application process itself, I would highly recommend putting any claims, any applications in at least 24 hours before the deadline. On the day of submission, there is no guarantee that the portal will not crash. So I really would recommend getting in 24 hours ahead of time. Once you've applied, there's a first sift, and this is to ensure that the form is completed properly. So any gaps or anything like that will just simply mean that you're put to one side and you do not get onto the shortlist. They also check that the project is in scope for the call. So that's why making sure you read the scope is very important. Once it's got through that particular hoop, it then goes to assessment, and it's assessed by a team of assessors who will each score and give feedback on your application. So awarding of the funds is done by, they have a set limit on the amount of money they have. They will award from the highest scores downwards, and when they run out of money, they run out of money. So just to flag that you could score really highly, but you still won't get the funding because competition has been such and the quality and standard of the applications has been such that it's the money has run out prior to getting to your particular application. So just bear that in mind, and that means it's even more important to stand out from the crowd so that you can push those scores. Even 1 point will help towards getting that money. Once that's done, due diligence is undertaken, and if all is okay there, a grant offer letter will come out to you. You will be set up on the Innovation Funding Service. Some of you may already be very familiar with that particular portal, and that is where you make all your claims and manage the monies for the project. And you'll be introduced to your monitoring officer. Now, these people are really important because they are the ones who you will be reporting directly into about the project and putting your claims through. So they have first sign off on your claims. So just a few recommendations on applications. As I mentioned at the start of this, think of this as a pathway approach. Don't try and fund everything with one application or through one piece of grant funding. Think of this as developmental phases. Some of the calls can be very niche, but it may be that you have quite a niche part of your project and that would really fit with that particular call. Read that full call and watch any webinars. I know I'm sounding like a bit of a broken record, but please do. That's often where people trip up. Be very clear about what is innovative. Have a clear problem solution, have a well-articulated value proposition, and be really clear how it differs from the competition or what's currently available. And even if there's nothing currently available in the same way as you're doing it, make sure you flag if there are potential substitute ways of addressing the problem that you're trying to address. All of these things you can get with support through the Innovate UK Business Growth team to help you to really refine these elements. So if you're not already engaged with them, it's probably worth having a chat to see if they can provide you with some support. Ensure you demonstrate market knowledge and you can evidence a market need, demand, or opportunity. That's often very difficult if you're at early stage. But again, through Innovate UK Business Growth, we can give you support to try and articulate that and evidence it within your applications. Also, have a well thought through plan. How are you going to develop this project? They're going to want to see that you have a handle on exactly what needs to be done at each point through that project. And also bear in mind that you'll need to understand what the positive and negative impacts of the innovation may be. if we were talking about the internet today, would we be able to articulate the consequences, both good and bad, of social media, for example? So have a think about your particular innovation. Does it work for everybody? Are there parts of the society that it wouldn't work for? Are there types of companies, businesses it wouldn't work for? Think about it in those terms. So just demonstrating an awareness that you've thought through the impacts, positive and negative. So I've talked about support. It is good to reach out to Innovate UK Business Growth and to an Innovation Growth Specialist. Some of you may already be working with an Innovation and Growth Specialist. This is, as Howard said, a wraparound support. It's long-term and responsive to your business. The teams have all run businesses, so they've been in your shoes and bring some of their own experience to the table as well. We can give you help in supporting your value proposition and market research. And as Howard said, we can help you find partners and other opportunities, particularly through the EEN and also through European funding. Also, contact the Innovate UK helpline for help if you have any questions. Just a quick thing on Europe. We can also help to support on Horizon Europe calls, which we are UK SMEs can now apply and lead on. So through Innovate UK Business Growth, we can give you introductions to the national contact points whose remit is to support SMEs in applying for Horizon. We can give you support finding partners in Europe because Horizon calls generally require a collaborative approach. And we can support applications using a small pot of funding we have for Horizon Pump Priming, which will allow you to go out into Europe to speak to potential collaborators and partners. And it's very much there about supporting the development of any Horizon application. So Howard's already mentioned some of these resources. The other one I would mention on there is the No Limits. No Limits is Innovate UK's more accessible funding and skills, and there's a lot of good resources on there. Externally, I would suggest looking at the British Business Bank and also looking at the Business Finance Guide to start looking at that overall jigsaw. And then if you're not already working with Innovate UK Business Growth, please do feel free to reach out through the Clean Futures team and we can put you in touch with people in your area. Alternatively, if you want to have a look at the website, or you can get in touch with us through our national contact point. Okay, thank you very much. I'm now going to hand over to Alec. So okay. Right. How do I do this?
Yeah, no need to actually, Rachel, if you can hand back to me, because Alec's not got any slides. I've just got one.
Okay, Brian, no problem. I can't actually see how to do that.
Go on to the participants and there's 3 little dots at the end of the name. Click on that.
There we are. It was trying to get me to sign in. Yes, Brian, you are now host. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rachel. So, yeah. Now introduce you to Alec Gillam, who works for Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organisation. He's their partner on the Clean Futures programme. So Alec is just going to give you a short overview of some of the support that they can offer.
Thank you, Brian. Morning, everybody. So as Brian said, my name is Alec Gillam. I'm Strategic Development Partner at the Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organisation. So one of our main offers over at the facility is the Very Light Rail National Innovation Centre, which is a £35 million dedicated research technology organisation located in Dudley in the West Midlands. So the facility is a dedicated resource to support development of innovation and product development into the light rail sector, but also in addition to the light rail, the trams, we also deal with traditional gauge rail sector. So we are not just light rail, we're also traditional rail and even high-speed rail. So the facility is a dedicated testing and demonstration facility, which has 2.2 kilometers of rail test track. And we have extensive relationships with tier one or OEM prime contractors, whichever terminology you're familiar with in your sector. So people such as train operating companies, freight operating companies in the railways, also rolling stock manufacturers, and also network rail, so track and infrastructure providers. So the main purpose of my slot today is that if you are, I assume you are interested in clean tech, as you have probably applied to the Clean Futures program. So if you're interested in clean technology, how we can support the decarbonisation of the transport sector, we can offer an appropriate physical rail test environment over our facilities over in Dudley. So looking at interaction between highways, railways, airports, all the transport platforms. We have a dedicated research and technical capability and personnel who can support you with the product development and testing on site. So the main shout out is whether you've been successful at applying for the Clean Futures program or not, you can engage with us over at the rail test facility, and we'll be happy to have a discovery meeting and see in which way we may be able to help you take your product innovation higher up the TRL technology readiness levels and closer to market deployment. So there's my contact details. Please feel to reach out via the email or LinkedIn for a further discovery call. That's it from me today. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for the time.
Great, thank you, Alec. So really, only thing left is to, I suppose, main point, go through the questions. So there's a few questions on the chat. Lindsay, do you want to go through those?
I can read them out, but I don't know whether the speakers would prefer to read them themselves.
Okay.
Howard, Rachel, I think they're for you. Is it easier for me to read them out, or is it easier for them to look at them?
Shall I answer them, because this is being recorded? Then those
Yeah.
will be they're there for posterity. So for scale ups, so Niraj has asked about scale up. So the process is your innovation and growth specialist, or if you're not already working with one, we can arrange for you to be introduced to somebody. They will can arrange for a scale-up director to have an initial exploratory conversation with you to identify whether or not you're at the right stage to put through an expression of interest to the program itself. There is a comprehensive application process which begins with an expression of interest, and that is basically to give a clear view of where you're expecting the business to go in the next 3 to 5 years. Once that has passed jumped through the first hoop, when it's been agreed that it's worth continuing the conversation, you will get a site visit from 3 to 4 scale-up directors. They will normally spend around about a day with you and the executive team talking about the business, challenging your plans, trying to identify where there may be opportunities to support. That is then taken back and put to a full board who will review and consider the application put forward through the scale-up directors. And it's only once you've got through that process and being accepted that you will be assigned a lead scale-up director who will bring together a board of directors to work as their advisory board for you. Very much dependent on what are your priorities at that time. So the scale-up directors all come from a significant business background, have very different skill sets and experience, and they tend to bring those to bear on the priorities for your business. Hopefully that answers that question for you.
It does, yeah. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Cool, no problem at all. You also asked, is there a particular size for internationalization? Absolutely not. Everything from a one-man band upwards. It really is dependent on what you're looking to do. So the difference between us and UKTI is we do innovation and they do export and trade. So when we're talking about innovation, we're talking about putting UK SMEs in touch with organisations and SMEs in other countries, or not necessarily SMEs, it can be large corporates, to look at how they can collaborate on the innovation and potentially then move that innovation into that market in the longer term. So, for example, we took a global business innovation program out to San Diego last year, and one of the conversations we had was with the US Navy about their innovation process. So how do you bring an innovation to the attention of the US Navy? So that enabled one or two of the businesses with us to start thinking about their approach to that particular area. So when you're talking about international businesses in Australia and India, if that's about sales and about trade, then that's probably with the guys from Department for Business and Trade, or UKTI as they were previously known. So are you already working with them, Niraj?
Yes, we have had our first few meetings with the businesses from both the geographies so far, but
Good.
it's only at that initial level, and we're just trying to explore the collaboration spectrum essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it takes a little time to bottom out what might be useful for you, but they're the guys if you're looking at export.
Sure. Cheers. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. Contracts for innovation. So Kevin, good question. Unlikely that KPMG could initiate one because they're not public sector. It might be that it's possible to partner or collaborate with KPMG if they are part of addressing a solution. But to be honest, I would have that conversation with the Contracts for Innovation team. And I've put the link to all the details in the slides. So obviously speak to the experts and they will be able to fill you in on how that might work. Do we offer advice on how to cover the 30% match funding aspect? We can run strategic funding and finance reviews with you. So we have some finance specialists in the team. We can have a look at that. So that could be one aspect we can help you with. If you're, as you put it, from unfavourable socioeconomic backgrounds, there are other types of funding that are 100%. They may not be as much, so I would suggest looking at unlocking potential when we have the next call. So the build phase of that is £50,000, or it might even be going to £75,000, and that's 100%. So there's no match funding involved in that. So it's worth keeping an eye on that. But if you do need help looking at match and the likes of that, speak to an innovation growth specialist. We can do a strategic funding and finance review to see how that might be addressed. Okay, I think, does that answer the questions, Kev?
Yes, it does. About the contracts for innovation, I just wasn't sure what size organisation has to do the initiate, who starts the process off. So we come to you and say, KPMG think this is a very big problem that we could solve. So they wouldn't be the people who started an SBRI. It'd be another organisation, because that's who we need to identify. Who is the organisation who would say, this is a problem that KPMG have raised, and lots of other companies, like McKinsey's, Steer, all those sort of people, they've kind of honed in, oh, this is what's going wrong here. So it'd be ideal if an SBRI could materialise, then we could jump in and say, well, ta-da, fixed it for you. That's how I dream of it to go.
So it's the SBRI, or the Contracts for Innovation, they're driven by the public sector. So it would be the likes of the NHS, or maybe the MOD, or one of the government departments coming and saying, we have a problem and we need to find a solution.
The Department for Transport.
Yeah, they may well put them out. So they put them out via UKRI and Innovate UK. So they will put those out, and those will be ready calls. So if you go onto the Innovation Funding Service and you sign up for alerts and things like that, then that will tell you when one comes up. If you're looking at, if KPMG, for example, had come to you, and obviously they're private sector, but if they come and say, well, we got this problem, and you think, well, we've got your solution, it may be there's a collaborative R&D there. So look for collaborative R&D calls, which would give you some of the funding. It would help to overcome that match funding piece, because you've got KPMG involved, and for them, it may be that they can match on time and things like that. But you would develop the innovation together. Obviously, then that throws up in IP questions.
We've covered a lot of IP. I mean, we keep discovering. Cool. I mean, that's another question. Is we've already had an IP audit, but we realised until we met the diligent guy we're working with now, we've had to kiss two frogs. We had an IP audit done, and they did an awful job, and we realised we've got so much more IP that we could protect and sell as its own product, even if ours doesn't ever come to market, or all our modules. So could we have a second bite at having an IP audit, or once we've had one, is that it? So
it may not be that you need the IP audit, but as you say, there are parts that need revisiting. I think you're currently working with one of the innovation and growth specialists, aren't you?
Yes, brilliant, John Gamble.
Yeah. So speak to John. He may well be able to help you access some of that extra grant funding that Howard mentioned in the phase 2 part. So the access grant funding. So that it pays. That's match funded. £750 charged to yourselves, but £2,250 is paid by the IPO. And it may be that there are elements within your IP that we can support on in that way. He can also arrange for you to speak. We have a number of, well, your IP lawyer might already be involved in our pro bono stuff. In which case that they give 45 minutes an hour free of charge, and that could build on what you're doing, what you did in the IP audit, even though it wasn't fantastic, but within your IP strategy. So talk to John, and he should be able to facilitate all that for you.
Thank you. Will do. I'll start with John. Thanks very much.
Can I just jump in on the SBRI question, please?
Yeah.
So although I'm here as a participant, one of my other hats is the on the National Digital Twin Hub strategy board. So so I've got some connections into central government. If you've got a particular problem you'd like them to put forward that kind of makes sense, if you want to give me drop me a line, I'm happy to have a chat and see if there's a way I can introduce that to some people for you. And I'm happy to sign NDAs as well if you're worried about it. And who knows, I might even find some work. We might even find some work to do together. So
fabulous.
Just by all means, drop me a line. I think my details are on the invitation, I guess. But it's Benjamin Paul Ford at gmail.com.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Ben. Okay, I can't see any more. Oh,
no,
I can't see any more questions from our side. So if you do think of anything after this, please just let the Clean Futures team know, and we can come back to you.
Okay, well, yeah, so I'd like to close by, thank you all for attending and participating in this meeting today. I hope you found it useful. I mean, as we said before, we send out all the presentation material to you with our contact details. So if you need to contact us directly, I'll send the details out. And I think Alec from BCMO has put his details in the chat if you need to contact him. So yeah, thanks again for joining and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much.